Imagine you have to fight against someone like Kaido, but your own superpower is butter. Or how about sacrificing your ability to ever swim again in favor of being a glorified soap dispenser? I guess what I'm trying to say here is some devil fruits give you the most powerful abilities in the universe, while others are a big fat stinking pile of... And honestly, I'm kind of obsessed with how bad some of these really are, so here for you are the 11 worst devil fruits in all of One Piece, starting with Corazon's fruit, the Nagi Nagi no Mi, also known as the Calmcom fruit. Now here's the deal. On its own, it does have an admittedly kind of wild ability. The Calmcom fruit allows the user to generate a field around them that blocks and negates sound, and that's from both directions, meaning it has the unique ability to turn a regular person into a soundless human. And I mean, sure, it definitely does have some uses. I mean, if you're a super stealthy and private person, it can be fairly useful. It would help you keep all of your secrets secure or help block out that pesky traffic sound. But here is the major problem with this fruit. If you just write things down and wear noise-canceling headphones, you pretty much have the Calmcom fruit abilities already. I mean, at the end of the day, it is kind of useful if, let's say, I don't know, you're trying to murder someone. Sure, I mean, I guess it would keep things quiet, though at the end of the day, is it really worth it to instantly drown instead? I would say absolutely not, which makes it pretty much trash for anyone with common sense, but because it does have some practical use, it's definitely far from the worst devil fruit out there, because we've got way worse ones that are essentially trash coming down the road. And we actually aren't done with controversial takes either, because I've actually gone on record before to say that this fruit is incredibly powerful and underrated, and while I genuinely do think so, I do have to acknowledge that my number 10 devil fruit would be truly awful in most people's hands. And that's because it's the Fude Fude no Mi, better known as the Brush fruit, but you probably know it better as Kanjuro's devil fruit here. Basically, it's a fruit that allows the user to generate ink from their bodies and use a paintbrush to create full real-life versions of their art in the real world. You know, kind of like Sai from Naruto, but even better because it's way more versatile. And I gotta be real, we've seen it do some truly insane things in the series, like creating exact replicas of Kozuki Oden, or even creating a massive flaming lizard-like blob that threatens to destroy all of Onigashima. In other words, how could it make the top 10 of worst devil fruits? Because clearly its power is absurd. But dear viewer, I think you need to consider one very important thing. Kanjuro, it turns out, is a master artist. Are you? I'm not, that's for sure. And if you aren't, well, this fruit is pretty much garbage. Because really, at best, I guess you'll create some Medicore drawings that die instantly, but more than likely, your army of frail stick figures isn't going to survive very long. Truly, imagine someone like Luffy with this devil fruit. I'm really terrified of Fishnami. That's a major threat right there, but you see what I'm getting at here? This fruit kind of sucks. It's pretty bad. So again, as I said, in a specific case with a really good artist, it can do some amazing things, so I can't really in good conscience go any lower on the list with this. This next fruit though, let's just say it won't have people exactly flocking to you. Yeah, I know, it wasn't a great pun, but as you can tell, number 9 is a bird fruit. And let's be real, it's without question the worst of the bunch. Because we're talking about the Tori Tori no Mi model Albatross, and it's normally wielded by everyone's favorite big bird, big news, Morgans. But Manu, I hear you now saying, it's a zone type fruit. How bad could it really be? And I hear you, there is a reason it's this high on this list. However, if you really think about it, what can it actually do? I mean, it kind of turns you into a big bird, but other than that, it makes you like a little bit stronger. I mean, Morgans admits that he can't even fly with this fruit, so the great benefit of a bird fruit is immediately lost right away with this. And really, the big kicker here is there's just objectively so much better bird fruits out there. We know of two canon ones, Pell's model Falcon, and Marco's mythical bird fruit, model Phoenix. And you see, this is where the real issue lies, because when you compare everything that we've seen the Albatross fruit do compared to those other two bird fruits, it's dreadful. It can't fly, it doesn't have any special powers, and just makes you look like a Jim Henson kind of puppet, I guess. And I mean, thank God that Morgan's at least dress is sharp. Unlike this next fruit, and that's because at number 8 we have the 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, or in English, the pile fruit. You might remember it was the fruit used by Charlotte Newshy that allowed the Charlotte duplicates to fuse into the giant person with the scythe, which at first glance doesn't sound super unuseful, right? I mean, merging with other people, sure, if you are all identical and willing to do so, I guess, but what if you aren't? I mean, not a lot is known about this fruit specifically, and generally the power does seem to rely on everyone being in perfect sync and willing to fuse together, like, actively. But let's say that's not how it works, and for some icky and weird reason, you want to force others to fuse with you. Also, what happens when nobody is around you? Well, nothing. That's what. This fruit just has way too many really weirdly specific variables to be useful for anyone, which is why it's honestly really pathetic. And while up to now we've covered some fruits that I guess could be somewhat useful, I promise that is about to end now, because this next fruit and going forward is not gonna make you cracked. Actually, quite the opposite, because at number 7 is the 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, otherwise known as the infamous egg fruit. And if you know anything about these rotten devil fruits, I think it's no surprise that this fruit made it onto this list. Without question, the weirdest zone fruit out there, the egg fruit allows its user to become, well, an egg and a chicken, if you're lucky, I guess. And yeah, that's not really a sunny side up option when it comes to this fruit's abilities. First off, it kind of turns your body into an egg, literally designed to break. Like, that alone is kind of trash, but don't worry, if someone hits you hard enough, you'll crack and churn out a yolk version, which I gotta say, what a lousy excuse for an ability. Oh, wait, but it gets even worse, because during that time, you're incredibly weak and subject to permanent death. But don't worry, there is an upside, I guess. If you live long enough in your yolk form, you'll gradually gain chicken parts, eventually becoming a chicken person, which, despite my tone, I guess actually is a decently powerful zone transformation, I guess. Now, the reason I have it on this list is because, you guessed it, being an egg kinda sucks, and if it didn't have the benefit of the potential chicken mode, well, it would be very easily the worst devil fruit ever without any question. And since we're now halfway through the list, the options going forward are just getting worse and worse as we go, like the number 6, the rust fruit. Might be a bit of a surprise here, right? Because this fruit's ability is pretty straightforward. It lets someone rust metallic objects that they touch, which I guess offensively can be pretty useful in a world with crazy swordsmen like Zoro and metal boats. In other words, have fun staying afloat or slashing someone when they turn everything into rust. But here's the deal. That's it. That's the only way it's ever useful. Like, unless you're trying to become Lord of the Scrapyard, it's horrendous. I mean, be honest here. Have you ever looked at something clean and gone, oh man, now that needs to get some nice rust on it? No, you haven't. And you know why? Because rust sucks. Quite frankly, it's kind of appalling. That's right. Despite being wielded by a marine captain, it's clear that in the hands of literally anyone else, this fruit just kind of falls short in basically every way. Like, would you want to have that in real life? I don't think so. And don't worry, I've got something god-awful up next for you, and that's because from here on out, starting with number 5, the 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, it's really nothing but a slippery slope to the bottom of this list. And that's because this is the butter fruit, and you better believe that this is really worthless. And alright, bad puns aside, the butter fruit is just remarkably unremarkable. Like, sure, I guess it's somewhat sticky and can keep your opponents in a bind, but what are you gonna do with it if you're not a remarkable fighter or hockey user? Lightly butter your opponents? Like, raise their cholesterol levels until they die?
Get in my belly!
And I guess, yeah, you could put some weight on your opponent, or I guess provide unlimited butter to some bakery down the road, but when you compare it to anything similar in this category, I think you'll really start to see why this is absolutely horrendous. And so, for example, let's look at some other food-related devil fruits like the mochi fruit. After all, this is another of the Charlotte siblings fruits as well. The mochi fruit is a special paramecia that pretty much much acts as a Logia fruit. Or what about 𝗪𝗪𝗥𝗦𝗧's lick fruit? Quite impressive, since he can harden and soften the candy he uses, shape it into things, attack with it. There's so much versatility with it, truly impressive. And meanwhile, the butter fruit shoots butter. Not a fancy Logia technique or multiple states of matter, just goopy butter. Yeah, really disgraceful, let's be honest. Also, imagine using that on board of a ship that's then in the sun for days. Like, that must... ugh, okay. Don't worry, there's far worse than this still to come, such as the pocket fruit, because this amazing fruit allows the user to keep big objects in their pockets. Awesome. Now, sure, I guess it's pretty useful from being an infinite pocket space for small objects, but so is a backpack or a duffel bag, or, you know, like being on a ship where you can carry. Like, this isn't exactly a fancy technique. I guess the real benefit of this fruit lies in the fact that super massive objects can be kept in that space as well. And while sure, I guess it's great if you are like super powerful, superhuman, and can actually carry any of these giant objects, but let's be real, you can't. I can't. Most people can't. Having a refrigerator in your pocket is amazing until it crushes you once you try to actually pull it out. And well, that's literally the burden that this fruit really struggles with. It's just not practical for any non-giant sized or super powerful individuals to wield. And really, even in that best case scenario, it just kind of speeds up moving some bigger objects or bringing something with you. But honestly, we've yet to see a crazy or even slightly useful application of this fruit's quote-unquote true power. Which means that with that, we have now reached the bottom 3 fruits, and it's finally time to get to some truly vile trash devil fruits. And without much more waiting, a classic, our number 3 is the much needed jacket fruit. A fruit that truly could be broken in the right hands, but is simply hopeless for 99.9% of people. And that's because it's just way too complex for how little power it actually gives you back. Basically, to use it, the user must turn their own body into a jacket, and then after that, someone must wear that jacket. And then, once that has happened, these two individuals' powers do get combined, which lets the jacket user take control over its partner's body. Now, I guess we saw it getting used somewhat effectively by a weak brother who would overtake his stronger brother's body, suddenly combining into a somewhat okay powerful fighter. And yeah, maybe hypothetically in the right hands it could do some crazy things. I guess combining Shanks wearing Whitebeard something. But honestly, it does suffer from a lot of the previous issues that I've already brought up. Much like the pile fruit, and far more obvious to be honest, it clearly requires another person to be a somewhat decent fruit. In other words, it's entirely useless to the user if they're on their own, and it's also way too complex, kind of like the egg fruit, and leaves a user vulnerable while they are in their jacket state as well. And honestly, it's just a shoddy third-rate power. It's kind of the Joey Wheeler of fruits if you want. And worst of all, even used in its ideal setting as it was in the Colosseum, its power still proved to be totally useless in the end anyways. Meaning that it's pretty safe to say that this fruit is clearly out of style. Though funnily enough, I'd be lying if I said that this is the worst clothing-based fruit, and that's because our number 2 worst devil fruit is the 𝗪𝗪𝗥𝗦𝗧 fruit that takes that title instead. Now, yeah, it may be Kinemon's fruit who is strong, but that doesn't mean that it's a fruit worthy of a powerful samurai. That's because we learn through Kinemon that to use this fruit, the user creates clothes out of leaves, stones, or other small objects that they place on their head, which, as I'm sure you've realized, means that it's pretty useless in an area without disposable small things lying around, like a desert or a ship. Not to mention that none of the clothes that this fruit produces are actually permanent. They will revert back immediately after time, and on top of that, the user must be able to picture the clothes in their mind to actually be able to create them. So unless you're a fan, this fruit is not going to pump out nice looking outfits by default. And sure, I guess it can keep you warm when it gets cold, but so does owning a basic jacket or a sweatshirt. So, basically, at the end of the day, the ability to make clothes and instantly drown in the ocean is kind of shoddy at best, and let's be real, a really pitiful ability to have at worst. So instead, you could just get this really nice shirt from the store below. Shameless plug, but I didn't even need a devil fruit to make cool clothes. Just saying. But now is the moment you have all been waiting for. It's time for the undeniably worst devil fruit in all of One Piece, and I promise it's a controversial take. That's what you wanted. So bear with me, or I guess human with me, because in my opinion, the absolute most garbage and useful fruit has to be the human fruit. Which, yes, may be hard to believe because we have seen Chopper and Luffy do absolutely insane things with human fruits, or Sengoku, but may I remind you that one is a reindeer who ate the human fruit, and the other is a mythical zone model Sun God Nika edition. So I guess, sure, if you watch this video and you're a little turtle, or maybe you're a plastic bag, this may be the fruit for you. Oh, wait, but you aren't? That kind of sucks because this thing is pretty pointless. It's trash otherwise. It's honestly a waste of space and empty calories, and it tastes pretty bad on top of that. That's because if you're already a person, this thing just basically takes away your ability to swim. It's a fruit that exclusively gives you a disadvantage, so talk about a garbage perk of an ability. What, you don't believe me? Even Oda himself once joked that if a human ate down this fruit, they might become more human-like or find their true spirit, and that's the author calling it out how pathetic the sorry excuse for a devil fruit really is with anything that is already human. Meaning that, yeah, unless you're a piece of paper that's unable to watch this video, this fruit isn't the one for you, making it the single worst fruit in all of One Piece, which is exactly the opposite of these 5 fruits, which are the most broken ones in the entire story. Check it out. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, and otherwise, I will see you in the next one.